Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Dev with Excel. Alright, so in this video we shall be solving exercise 3.4. It says implement functionality that makes it possible to delete a single phone book entry by making an HTTP delete request to the unique URL of that phone book entry. Test that your functionality works with either Postman or Visual Studio Code REST client. Okay, so for this last part, we could actually test with anything that works with for us, right? I am going to introduce us to something that I love to actually use, which is not Postman or the REST client, because it's like I use it for simple and basic projects such as this, right? And I find it very easy to actually use. So I'm not going to be using Postman or Visual Studio Code REST client for this exercise, right? So you can choose to use this. It's just to test your backend, right? As long as it works, that's all. All right, so let's head into the code implementation. I've been able to create the setup folder for this step 4. So I'm going to cd into it. Let me copy the path. And then let's close this server and then let's cd into step 4. Let's use the npm run dev. Okay, so let's close all of these files here and then let's open the file from this folder. That's step 4. All right, so here is what I want to introduce to us. Let me expand this, and then it's called the Thunder client. So when you come to the extension part here and you type Thunder client, you get this, right? So you click on this and then you install. Mine is already installed. I think it's just trying to update, right? So when you successfully install this, it's going to come here for you. You are going to find it here and then you use it, right? So I'm going to show us how to use Thunder client, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy it as well. All right, so this is Thunder client. To use it, you simply just click on it, then you click on collection. After clicking on collection, then you get something like this. Okay, let's assume you click on this. You might be you might have something like this, right? You select collections, then you click this, which is the menu. Then you select new collection, and then you can call the collection the name of the project you are working with. In our own case, we are working with FullStackOpen, so I could just call it FSO YT, that's YouTube, right? So I click on enter and it saves, right? So um this comes to this part of our code here. So we could just drag this upwards. We could just drag this upward and then place it here. All right, so that works fine. That works fine. So the next thing I want to do is what I want to do next is I want to show us how to use this to test the backend server. So let's ensure that this file this is currently running. So here we can see that this is step 4 and it's running successfully. So here what we can do next is we click on this triple dot and we select new request. Now the request you want to make here, let's use a get request. You can just write get here and then hit the enter key. Now we have a get request here, right? So inside here, we can simply just write the endpoint we want to work with. Now going to our browser, we could just copy this endpoint we have here, and then we come to this part here and then we paste it here, right? When we click on send, we are expected to get the data just as it is in the browser. Let's click on send. So here we can see This is the data we have, right? So similarly, we can also use this for the info endpoints we actually had here, right? So we can just copy this and then we can change this to info and then we click send. So we have this phone book has info for 4 people, right? And it returns to us just as it was in the browser. So I enjoy using this than the REST client. It's just a personal preference, right? You may not, this may not be the same for you, right? So if you still enjoy using REST clients, that's okay. You can also use the Postman. Postman is very, very good, very, very good. If you have a very large project you are working on, I advise you use Postman and not even Thunder client here. But with Thunder client, you can still successfully finish this course, right? All right, so that's just it. Okay, so I'm simply going to leave this part for now. Let's go back to our code. All right, so going to the instruction, let's go to the instruction again. Um, that's exercise 3.4. It says implement functionality that makes it possible to delete a single phone book entry by making an HTTP delete request to the unique URL of that phone book entry. All right, and it says we should test our functionality. All right, so um, okay, so here is what we can do. We need to create another app dot here. It's going to be app dots. It's not going to be app dot get here. It's going to be app dot delete because delete is also an HTTP request, right? So here we are simply going to do something like this. We can just copy everything we have here and then paste it here because we are targeting just the person with this ID. So we say slash API slash persons slash colon ID. Then we put a comma and then use the callback, right? So inside this callback here, we are going to pass in the request and the response, just as we did for getting a person with a particular ID, right? So before this, let me just simply put necessary comments here, right? So here we can just say getting all persons. So this is going to be a comment. Here, getting person info. So here we could just say getting a person, getting a single person. And then here we want to say deleting a single person. All right. So it's okay to actually comment your code, right? So one does not get lost at some point, right? Okay, now here is going to be the code implementation that helps us to delete a single person, right? We are going to target this ID just as we targeted this ID here. So we can just copy everything we have here and then we paste it here, right? Now we are targeting this ID and we are going to check if it tallies with a person or a person's data we have here. If that is true, we are going to return every other person except itself, and that's how the delete works. So what we do is we simply say persons dot filter, right? Now we don't need to, okay, so we say persons dot filter and this is going to accept a person, right, as a parameter. And then we say each of that person, each of that person's ID, we want to check if it's does not tally, right, with the ID we have here. So we do something like this. Excuse me. So what this means is that if we had put a triple equal to sign here, it means we want to check for a case whereby this person that has this ID matches with the ID that is going to be passed in the endpoint URL, right? But now we want to target every other person's whose ID does not match with this person we want to delete. So that we are going to return every other person whose ID does not tally with this person without returning the person whose ID tallies. That means we are excluding that person whose ID tallies. And that's how delete works, at least in this implementation, right? So after doing that, we want to send a response, right? We say res.send, and then we could just say person with ID. Then we still do something like this. ID has been successfully deleted. Something like this, right? So let's put this, let's correct this. Successfully deleted. Then let's save this code. Let's save this code. Now let's test this on our Thunder client, right? So we come here, we click on this, and then we create another request. This is for get. Let's create another request, which is going to be for delete. So we can just come here and call it delete. So here we have delete here, right? So we can just copy the delete endpoint. I think we have it in this instruction here. That's exercise 3.4. Okay, so we could just copy this endpoint, right? Since we are targeting a particular ID. So let's paste this here. Now we don't have ID 5, right? We don't have ID 5. What we want to do is we are going to change this get here by clicking on this drop down to delete. And then we have to pass in an ID that exists. So let's pass in ID of 4. Okay, so let's see what happens when we click on send. When I click on send, it says person with ID 4 has been successfully deleted. Now let's see if we can get all the data we had previously without the data with the ID of 4. Going to get, let's click on not info this time, slash API slash persons. So let's click on the send. Okay, so here we have ID 4 still remain there, right? Now this is because we've not started to work on the we've not saved the file, right? We've not saved the file. Now this is just a way to just explain to us the way the delete works, right? We will get to the point where when we click this send, it's going to delete, and then it saves the updated file such that we won't be getting this data here anymore, right? This is going to leave. All right, so um I think we should even try that. Let's try that. So let's go to index.js. Let's assign this to a variable. Let's call it let's deleted person equal to this. Sorry. Then let's copy this. Let's see if we can rather return this, right? So what we can do is let's just return. Let's remove person with ID, or we can still add this. We can still leave this using a break. Let's say br. Let's try this twice, and then Let's pass in deleted person. Would this work? This should work using a comma here. Deleted person. Okay, all right. So let's go to delete again. Let's click on send. Okay, this is not working for now. It says invalid status code. Mm, all right, let's first of all take away this one. Let's save. Let's go back to delete. Let's click this. All right, so we can see that the person with ID of 4 is no longer in this entire data, right? But when we come here and then we try to get again, we can see that this is still appearing here. Not that because our code implementation is wrong, but because we've not properly implemented it in such a way that in the overall application, once you delete, the person leaves the database, right? So at this stage, this is what we are expected to have, right? So I think we've come to the end of this code implementation. You can as well update it, but I think we can still stick to what the instruction provides, right? So if you enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, do well to give it a like and then subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.